It's unfortunate that I sat on the story for as long as I did. I didn't get on to cover it, and then I kind of forgot that it happened. And it really kind of shows how little this all affects us, me personally, now in the nowadays. With reading through all these sorts of stories along these lines, with seeing things like this going on around the country, it phased me, but it didn't phase me in the sense that it really stuck with me when it's something like this happening in my own, home state, where the state that I reside in. Kentucky State Police Department, for years, were using Adolf Hitler and Robert E. Lee and the violence of action and fighting like a warrior, that sort of training, to teach their police how to interact with the public. And if you guys remember, Breonna Taylor died to Louisville Metro Police, so it's not the state police, but they were also using similar training to the state police. If you take a look here, I have 2 articles that I want to go over with you really quick. Here, 1 second. Sorry. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, boop. There you go. Now we done it. I have 2 articles to go over with you guys. Kentucky police training quoted Adolf Hitler and urges ruthless violence. So here's what happened. Okay, so there was a man who was attacked and violently harmed by the police, by Kentucky State Police. My bad. Let me restart. So this all kind of begins in 2018. There was a man who was shot and killed by police. His lawyer, Bradley J. Grant, 37, is still fighting for him in court for his family and his estate. Grant said that the state police were basically using warrior training. You're like a freaking knight, okay? You're like a Navy SEAL, and you need to go out there and you need to fight for your freaking life, okay? Just freaking, you see a perp, okay? And you're like, ooh, time to die. Just wild stuff that you need to do to these people. And that was one of the reasons why the police acted the way they did around people like Taylor, around other people who are harmed and killed by the police in Kentucky. Recently, there's a high school up in Louisville. I'm not sure which high school it is in particular, but there's a high school up in Louisville. They do really good work, and they have a journalism school there. 2 kids from that school decided to look into this story and look into the sort of training that Louisville police, that Kentucky State Police actually go through for a long time. And what they found was actually disturbing. The lawyer for the man who was shot by the police filed a complaint and seeking access to the training that Kentucky State Police have been using to train their police, and it is remarkably horrible. So let me give you a little walkthrough of what of one training, like Microsoft PowerPoint they put together to teach their police. The Warrior Mindset, okay? Kentucky State Police Academy by Lieutenant Kurt Hall. Yeah, it's really funny. Even like literal high school kids, 8th graders, were able to put together a better article and exhibit better journalistic integrity. Because I've read through this article. It is a very good, well put together article by 2 young journalists who are doing great work out there. I actually hope to get them into an interview sometime. Hey, this is on your suggestion. Oh, hey, nice to see you. Hello, suggested. I'm Shark. So yeah, this is so let's take a look, right? The Warrior Mindset. Objectives: understand the importance of ethical and moral decisions as it relates to combat. List the qualities that make up good value system during combat. Understand the importance of having good value system in combat. Wow, incredible. Look how LARPing this is. He's a knight. He's a vanguard. He's gonna end this man's life because that's what policing is like. You're a knight. The warrior's chosen path is one less traveled. Selflessness, commitment, courage, honor, discipline. So they go through things like this, right? And they have, here's one, which is a quote from Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general fighting to keep slaves in the country till the end of time. Private and public life are subject to the same rules. Truth and manliness will carry you through the world much better than policy or tact or expediency or any other word that was ever devised to conceal the division from a straight line. What does that mean? What does that even mean? Like manly there are like women in these ranks too. Manliness and truth. Listen, okay, these people, I mean, they were true. They're not very truthful. They hide the sort of things that they believe. They hide what they actually stand for. They don't stand for the communities that they say that they're there to protect and serve. This sort of training teaches people to be above a disgusting, frothing, dangerous, dirty group of people that do not need compassion, but need to be controlled by a strong hand. And you are that strong hand. You're here to lay down the law, okay, on these sorts of communities. This is not how you train people to protect and serve. I want to show you a little bit more in here. I forgot where this one is in particular. I tried to grab these out without having to scroll through, but they all came, every time I tried to open them up in a new tab, they always came out like super small and unlegible. So, and then what is a warrior? An individual dedicated towards fighting for a worthy cause, and in the end, it will benefit more people than himself. Do you guys remember the dude who one of the people who shot Breonna Taylor? Hey, nice to see you. Thanks for joining. One of the people who shot Breonna Taylor, how he wrote that LARPy unhinged letter talking about this is a fight between good and evil, and you're good people. You're going to have to stand up and fight for your rights. You know, like he was like the police were under attack or something because people are tired of them just wantonly shooting people in the streets that they don't like. This is probably where it came from. This is probably one of the places that it came from, was this in particular. And there's one person in here who is quoted more than any other person in this entire training module, which is Adolf Hitler. You can see one here. Here, let me show you. Let me pull up one of the Adolf Hitler quotes in here. So here's one. Violence of action, ruthlessness without anger, controlled aggression without anger, being able to meet violence with greater violence. They're teaching people to escalate violence, meeting violence with greater violence. You throw a bottle at us, you get shot. This is insane. This is a training module that cadets used. And the thing is, they talked about this, that this isn't a bug in the system, all right? It's a feature. This is what they wanted to do. Remember how we talk about militarization of the police? Militarization of the police doesn't begin and end with them having like cruisers and Humvees like they're heading into Afghanistan or anything, or having long guns or body armor, or walking around with like grenade launched tear gas canisters. That's not where it starts. It starts far lower than that, from the police even wanting to accept those things. It begins in the training. They modeled this training module specifically off of military boot camp that is specifically made to teach people, train them to kill people. That's what a lot of that's what a lot of troops do to be okay, be comfortable, just desensitize them to just going out, being sent on your task. Your sergeant tells you go there and kill them, and you do it. and that's just what it is. They act like they're in war, that they're in wartime, like they're in the middle of a massive conflict. And when you see police, and when you see kids like wrench open a fire hydrant in the middle of July, and then like have fun, and then have fun with the water that comes out and everything, and the police officer blitzes around the corner, drifts like he's in Need for Speed, stops the car, combat rolls out, and then like choke slams a little kid, a little like Mexican kid, because they decided to open up the fire hydrant because grandma Clementine down the street doesn't like these little rascals playing in the street like this. It's just incredible to me how this is the way that they actually genuinely believe that this is the way that people should go about and try to interact with like normal human beings, people having drug problems, people having domestic abuse issues, and go into it like they're going into the middle of Afghanistan. It's just incredible to me that this is something that they think that happens. Be a loving father, spouse, and as well as a ruthless killer. Ruthless. Can I open this? Please let me open this. Yeah. They're sending cops out to be ruthless killers. They say it here themselves. And you can see here, Adolf Hitler, it's a little light here, so you can't really, so when you're standing back 30 feet from the projector, from the little Elmo that you're, oh my gosh, help me, from the little Elmo that you're in your little cadet class, because ever since you were a little kid, you wanted to be a cop and you wanted to protect and serve and help the community. And that's what it's like. They send you in here sitting with 30 other people who thought the same thing, and being shoved down your throat are Adolf Hitler quotes, and being taught to be a ruthless killer. The very first essential for success is perpetual, constant, and regular employment of violence. And that's how they teach the police. I want to take 1 second in the middle of this segment to be like, for one, thank you, Rotten Skulls, and thank you, Ancom Libra. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining the frenzy and being so incredibly pog. I didn't get to thank you properly in time, so I wanted to do it now. Also, thank you so much, Unreal Alexander, for the 6 Bitterinos. If you stream, you can listen to the video. Oh, cool. Thanks. I really appreciate that. We may need that as a little palate cleanse in between some segments. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. They hated each other? Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, Einstein and Hitler? Yeah. Yeah, Albert Einstein, Hitler. Just the great combination, the great meeting of minds, telling people really great things about how about what you can do with the world. Amazing things. They also quote the Bible in here, and they also quote you remember Robert E. Lee in here, slave driver extraordinaire. And here's another quote by Hitler. It all boils down to this: the value system eliminates hesitation. You become hard to kill once your value system is in place. Mind you, they're talking about police right now in a state suffering from the drug epidemic, in a state suffering from generational poverty. People, there are some places in Kentucky right now that looks like they still haven't recovered from the Great Depression. And they're sending state police in to be trained by modules that talk about Marines, SEAL Team 6, and the Spartans. And then under all of that, talking about how you become hard to kill once your value system is in place, it's important that you have the same values as Adolf Hitler. It's always more difficult to fight against faith than against knowledge. Really? Tell me how much knowledge you've gained off of this put together. And it really just shows you how embedded a lot of the problems in police are. People love to say one bad apple. It's not just one bad apple. People forget the other half of that euphemism, which is one bad apple ruins the entire bunch. And I have to tell you, the bunch that I'm looking at looks like a whole big barrel of bad apples. And one of the last slides on this one are Uber allies, talking about More war. War is what these people talk about when they talk about how to fix the problems, how to protect and serve the people here in Kentucky. Really sad. And one of the most egregious things that they did, right, is that these two journalists decided to talk to some of the people who put this together. And they said, this is what they had to say. The quotes are used in their context for relevance to the topic addressed in the presentation. The presentation touches on several aspects of service, selflessness, and moral guidance. All of these topics go to the fundamental law enforcement, such as treating everyone equally. Ah, yes, just like how equally Robert E. Lee and Adolf Hitler treated people in their lives. Great people to model yourself out off of and pull quotes from for teaching people how to use it. Right? Amazing. So another thing is what they said. They didn't say much besides they stopped using these training modules. This exact one in 2013. Now, there are lots of state police that have a longer service time in the police department than just 7 years, right? Just 2013 is when they stopped using it. 2013. There are still hundreds, if not thousands of police officers rolling around in their cars, hiding in bushes, patrolling streets, answering calls, going to domestic disturbances, all of these things, with the knowledge of Adolf Hitler, General Lee, warrior training. You are in a combat situation. This guy goes up to a door of a domestic disturbance and treats it like he's knocking on the door of the new ISIS leader in a COD game. And that's how they treat these people. This is how bad it's ingrained in here. It's not just one bad apple. It's just not one cop. It's just not one incident. It's the entire department from the head down. All of it. And our top cop right now, Daniel Cameron, lying by omission when it comes to the Breonna Taylor case, not even presenting the idea of manslaughter or murder to the grand jury that was talking about that handled the Breonna Taylor case, and then walking around like, oh well, they absolved all the cops. It's like, well, it's like murder never happened. How the biggest charge that those cops that kicked down Breonna Taylor's door, where nobody, not a single person right now who they interviewed about if the cops introduced themselves or not as police when they kicked down the door, none of them say that they did. That the biggest charge that one of them got was endangering the property of Breonna Taylor's neighbor when they riddled her apartment with bullet holes. And that is just one of the situations that you get when you have training like this.